we'll get started. It's at 6:42, and we'll start
Recording
with
in progress.
the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll start with item number 3, which is public comment. Anyone has public comment on a topic which is not pertinent to the agenda, please come on up here, state your name. You can feel free to
speak loud
grab a
enough for
seat.
everybody to hear me. My name is Liliana Chanet. I'm a public affairs specialist with the Small Business Administration, and I'm here to just take 2 minutes of your time. The blue folders on your desk, they're from me, and they have information with a press release, a fact sheet, and information on the disaster assistance that's offered from the federal government after the July 7 natural disaster and flooding. So most of you know that the declared county, gets IA from FEMA and disaster assistance from SBA. In your case, Franklin County is getting economic injury disaster assistance loan, short for EIDL. So up to $2 million for businesses and nonprofit organizations in form of loans. Up to 30 years repayment, fixed rate, 4% for businesses, 2.37% for nonprofits, and up to 30 years of repayment. No interest in the first 12 months, no payment in the first 12 months is expected. So I think this is good for the local economy. This is going to help a lot of folks. They probably, and when I say they, the business community, nonprofits, they're not feeling it right now, but in the next 6 months they will. And when that time comes and we are gone from the area, the Chamber of Commerce, you're going to be the stewards of this information, and everybody that's going to be with economic development, emergency management, or anybody that's going to address the local government for assistance. So please take a look at that information. It's valid information as an option. Not everybody wants a loan, but these are not your ordinary loans. They could apply online. They could go to one of the disaster recovery centers that's managed by FEMA. We have 3 business recovery centers that are listed on the press release that's on the first page. Those centers that they serve not just businesses and nonprofits, but also individuals from primary counties that they could apply. A lot of people, they travel back and forth, from primary counties like, that they are declared into your county. So they might ask this information. Please proliferate it as much as you can. And if you have any questions, I'm open to any questions that you might have. I think I stayed within my 2 minutes.
Anyone have any questions for Liliana? Thank you for making time to come in and sharing this information with us. And
Thank you, Mayor.
we will keep staff abreast of it so they can share the information if the need arises. I did receive information today that Franklin County had experienced 300,000 in agricultural losses. We were one of the fortunate counties for sure that were not impacted severely.
Correct. And we're working very closely with USDA. They offer loans for farmland. We offer for businesses. So if a farmer has a stand and he sells those products, we can help him. If he's just a farm and his crop, then it's the USDA. We work hand in hand, so I'm willing to get, with USDA and share that information if it's needed. But Mayor, please, if you allow me a few minutes of your time throughout the week, so we could discuss any further probably meetings with a business, and businesses here in the city. So we could just maybe schedule something with them. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're not cold. You cold?
That's my teeth chattering here.
Yeah, you could turn it down.
Bob got a jacket.
I think we're good.
Leon, thank you again for doing that, for stopping by, appreciate it. We're gonna move on to item number 4, which is...
Mayor, we have a hand up on Zoom.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Paul Hansen, and my comment is that the city's website is in need of upgrades. There are ADA accessibility issues. It's not mobile friendly, and I don't think it's the kind of modern website that the city deserves. I think your current website provider, called Catalyst, has provided a plan for some upgrades along with a big price increase by the end of the year. And I hope you're willing to consider an alternative to this big out-of-state company. My company is called EcoPixel. We're based in Vermont, and we serve the needs of municipalities and nonprofits. We've been in business for 20 years. Our customers include the town and village of Swanton, the city of Essex Junction, Waterbury, and Richmond. And we'd love the opportunity to serve the city of St. Albans as well. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Tom, you'll follow up on that. Thank you very much. Anyone else with a public comment? Okay, now we'll move to item number 4, Police Department recognition of recent promotions. Plural.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you everybody for coming. Council, Mr. Mayor, and City Manager Dominic Cloud. So as a city police department, we're organized in a rank structure, and part of that rank structure includes corporals, sergeants, lieutenants, and myself. Recently, we had the opportunity to promote a couple of officers to the rank of corporal and one corporal to the rank of sergeant. So we'd like to acknowledge that tonight. Those are important ranks within our department. The 3 of us here, me and Lieutenant Weatherby, Lieutenant Kuchar, and I, we're on the admin side of things. Unfortunately, that's kind of what our job lies, overseeing the administrative part of the paperwork and such. The individuals you see in this room in uniform, they're kind of the ones that control the road, and they make the decisions every day to keep everybody safe in this community and the other officers in uniform. They're a vital part of what we do every day. And I'm very pleased to say that they took a step in getting promoted and going through the process, because in a short time, things turn over, and these are your next administrators. And it's important to get to this first step. And it's important to look after your fellow officers and make the right decisions to get here. I'd like to acknowledge Corporal Grant first. If you'd like to step up with your family, you're welcome to come up with you. John Grant began his career here at the St. Albans Police Department in 2019. He has an approach that epitomizes community police. He was an SRO for a while with us, and now he's on the road as a corporal on night shift, which he took willingly to be a night shift position. He has the respect, professionalism, empathy that we look for. He's working towards a therapy canine position within our department, and he also maintains membership in the National Guard. So he all around works hard for this community and the community in the United States as a whole. Corporal Grant, you're proving yourself to be a dedicated, motivated, and professional officer in the department. You've shown that you adhere to the 3 core values of St. Albans PD, meaning courage, honor, and integrity. And we believe you can instill those in others in your supervisory role. I'm pleased to announce you have been promoted to the rank of corporal. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chief. All right, next, Corporal Fuller, come on up. Mike Fuller began his career with us in 2019, having come again. He came with us with several years of law enforcement experience from the east side of the state. Mike Fuller, he comes to us, he likes to investigate big cases, he likes to do drug work, which is kind of what we talked about earlier tonight. He likes to do narcotics cases, and not a lot of people like to do that work, because it's dirty, and it's very time inclusive, and it's sensitive work. And you're dealing with a lot of different clientele than what you're used to. He's also a firearms instructor within our department, which is also a very dedicated spot and dedicated role. This week alone, we have 2 days of firearms that he's going to be dealing with. Corporal Fuller, you've proven yourself again to be dedicated, motivated. You do live up to the courage, honor, and integrity that we believe you can instill in others. And in the corporal role, he's on day shift, Grant's on night shift. So on day shift, he's gonna be dealing with a lot of the stuff we talked about today. There's people on day shift, you see a lot of people walking the streets, and a lot of individuals that are looking for help, that are out in the world on days. They come to this area for resources. Corporal Fuller, he's one of the ones out there that's helping direct resources, helping get them the help they need. He's dealing with mental health, embedded crisis work on a daily basis, and it's a big part of his job, so I really appreciate everything you do. The last one tonight is Sergeant Zach Koch. Come on up there. Sergeant Koch also came to us with years of experience. He came in 2018. He's kind of been all over the country doing this stuff. So Zach Koch has become a leader in our officers' room. He's taken on several different roles. He's a field training officer, which means he helps train our brand new officers that come out of the academy. He's also head of our use of force training program within the department. He's also big in the jiu-jitsu training, which is kind of sweeping the country right now for law enforcement officers, as opposed to the norm, the everyday training, use of force training that's been around forever, the standardized training. Jiu-jitsu is becoming the newest way to train your officers in ground fighting and ground tactics. Hopefully the academy will adopt it at some point here, but when they do, we're going to be ahead of the game. Sergeant Koch is always looking at ways to improve our department with policy and procedures. He's very analytical thinking, and he's also very critical about the way we do things in a good way. He sees issues and he brings them to our attention. It's very much appreciated. Sergeant Koch, you've proven yourself to be dedicated in this department. We very much appreciate it. He also lives up to the courage, honor, and integrity every day. He's also on day shift, where it tends to be busier with everyday calls. I'm very pleased to have you on day shift, and I appreciate your help. Right now, we are down one sergeant on night shift. We have one open vacancy and 2 open corporal spots. So hopefully we're back here again soon. But you have to have 5 years on to be considered to be a sergeant, 4 years on to be considered a corporal. So it takes a little bit of time and experience to get there, and then you have to be willing to take the responsibility of being a supervisor. So that's where we're at. Thank you.
Chief, I had a couple of quick questions for you. Can you share with folks, and I call it continuing ed, but training, what do our officers have to do on a daily basis for continuing ed, if you will?
So, Mike deferred, Lieutenant Kuchar keeps track of our year of training. I can speak of it, but he actually tracks what is required for the academy to remain certified.
So it's actually Rule 13, and every year officers are required to have 30 hours of service training, and there's core classes that you have to take. So it's firearms, use of force, fair and impartial policing, and domestic violence. And those are kind of even years and odd years. They kind of rotate through, but those are really our core classes that we have to take.
And then we throw in our own online trainings. We pick trainings every month that we put out that the officers are required to take. We have a program that allows us to distribute online trainings and keeps track of when they do it. There's a due date. They keep track of when they do it. Those are tested trainings. They're 1 hour to 3 hours long, sometimes 4, but typically 1 hour to 2 to 3 hours. And we pick topics that are everything from community policing to something along the lines of bias-free policing to use of force, anything that we can find. And it's all accredited training. So we throw stuff at that just to keep us in some type of topic that involves police work. But it is difficult to find training, but the academy throws most of it our way.
Council, any other questions for Chief or staff? On behalf of all of us, thank you to the 3 of you for your service, and congratulations on your promotions. So thank you for coming in. We will now move to item number 5, a hearing regarding vicious dog.
Are they all done?
Chief, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, nice to see everybody again. This is a kind of a sad case, so we're going to roll real quick here for this vicious dog complaint. I'm just going to read through the affidavit because it's relatively short. Please stop me if you have any questions for clarity. Just to be clear on this, I was not at the scene. These are notes derived from Officer Leclerc's report as well as Animal Control Officer Benson's report. July 31st, 7:30 in the morning, St. Albans Police Department received a complaint in the area of 17 Farrar Street, advising that a female had been bit by a dog. The female was reportedly bleeding and had sustained a substantial injury to her lower leg. Officer Leclerc made the initial response. His investigation identified the dog owner as Miss Carleen Partlow. The person that was walking the dog, which was on a leash, was identified as Mark Mayville, and the person who was bit by the dog was identified as Miss Beverly Cook. Officer Leclerc was assigned the call and responsible for the case write-up. He arrived on the scene and met with the female, Miss Cook, who was being treated by her injuries by AmCare. Officer Leclerc's report is the following. This is written the way he wrote it. Cook stated she was walking west on Farrar. Cook explained the dog and its handler were walking towards her when the dog started running in her direction. Cook stated she put her hand out to greet the dog when it bit her once in the right leg. Cook had a bite wound on her right calf and shin. I spoke to the dog's owner, Carleen Partlow. Partlow stated she is the owner of the dog, named Izzy, but was not walking Izzy at the time of the incident. Partlow also stated this is not the first time the dog has bitten someone. Partlow stated she was thinking about euthanizing Izzy. Partlow explained Izzy is up to date on her vaccines and registration, but was unable to show proof. Partlow estimated Izzy's last rabies vaccination to be in August of 18. I spoke to the male walking Izzy at Mark Mayville. Mark stated he brings Izzy outside for walks every morning. Mayville stated he was walking Izzy when Izzy ran after Cook. Mayville stated he tried to control Izzy but could not do so. Mayville explained Izzy pulled him hard enough that he fell to the ground and was dragged on the sidewalk by Izzy. Mayville stated Izzy was on a leash. As part of the investigation, Animal Control Officer from here on out be called ACO. Jim Benson was requested to assist in the investigation, which is normal for us to do that. ACO Benson spoke to Mayville, Cook, and Partlow on the same day as the incident. ACO Benson's report is the following. I went to 17 Farrar Street and spoke to Mark Mayville. He told me that he had Izzy, a brown and white male pit bull that is not licensed or vaccinated, on a leash for a walk. When the dog saw Beverly Cook, Izzy took Mr. Mayville off his feet and dragged him. I went to the 61 Messenger and spoke to Beverly Cook. She told me that she was walking to the gym, walking down Farrar on the north side of the road when a man came out of 17 Farrar, and the dog attacked her leg while she was walking east on the sidewalk. She got a significant wound on her right lower leg and a big hole next to her medial area of her tibia. She gave me a picture of the wound and filled out a complaint form. I went to Carleen Partlow's work. She was not home at the time of the attack. She stated that he had attacked someone in Westford 3 or 4 years ago. I gave Carleen a statement to fill out and issued her a warning ticket for unlicensed dog at large. I also gave her a vicious dog ticket for $125. It was through a continued investigation and conversation Partlow had with ACO Benson that we learned about the previous bite in Westford. I do not know what, if any, precautionary steps Partlow had taken from this time of the first bite to the bite we are discussing tonight to ensure Izzy did not hurt anyone again. But despite any efforts she may have done, Izzy has once again injured a person, resulting in significant injuries. During the initial investigation, Partlow advised ACO Benson that Izzy received a rabies vaccination in 2018. His investigation was unable to verify Izzy had any recent vaccination. It was also determined that Izzy was not registered in the city of St. Albans. As a result of these violations in the incident, ACO Benson issued Partlow a ticket for vicious dog and warnings for no license and dog at large. As stated earlier, we have no information regarding a previous bite. It would be wrong for the PD to deduce what occurred. However, regarding this incident, a primary concern is this was an unprovoked attack on a person simply walking by the residence. Further, Izzy was on a leash being held by an adult and the attack could not be prevented. During the initial conversation with Officer Leclerc, Partlow mentioned that it might be time to have Izzy euthanized. Follow-up conversations with Partlow, ACO Benson learned that she no longer considered euthanizing Izzy. ACO Benson advised that Partlow was thinking about having Izzy's teeth removed. In one last conversation with Officer Leclerc while serving the hearing paperwork on Partlow, she advised he might seek intervention in terms of a dog behavioral therapist. I understand Ms. Partlow's affection for Izzy, and I can appreciate ideas she may have for Izzy's behavior that include removing Izzy's teeth and potential therapy for the dog that may decrease the likelihood of another bad bite. But I also know from my canine experience that if a dog cannot use their teeth, they are capable of knocking people down and inflicting harm with their head, legs, and body, despite not being able to bite, if harm is what they intend to do. As far as therapy, I'm not familiar with that. However, I think Izzy exhibited his intention with his unprovoked attack on a citizen who was walking by a residence while on a leash being held by an adult. For this reason, and in the best interest of the community and citizens within, I am recommending Izzy be euthanized. And then I included a picture of Izzy, the right leg that was bitten, one picture of where Amcare attended Ms. Cook, and a picture of the sidewalk where she was walking while bleeding away from where the dog bit her.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone have any questions for Chief?
I have two quick questions. One, where is the dog now?
She's
And
with
two,
me, I'm her owner.
and the second question is, if we don't know if the dog was vaccinated.
She's vaccinated.
Did the victim have to get vaccinations for rabies herself?
Huh?
Sounds like she'll be able to answer that. The information Mr. Benson, ACO Benson, determined was that she was unable to provide vaccination paperwork at the time of the investigation.
She was able to?
Was
I wasn't,
That's what I'm
because I
asking.
had
So
got her
was the
done.
victim going to get rabies vaccinated herself?
She's here, I'm right here. Yeah, because they don't know the dog was in quarantine for 10 days, as far as, that's what I know. And the dog warden said he was gonna check on it, but the whole point to this is, I was doing absolutely nothing. I've gone past that house for 2 years, and never knew they had a dog. And my biggest fear, and I can't even go down the street, even if I'm in a car, I have to go down Messenger or Main Street, and it really bothers me. And my biggest fear is that there's gonna be a little kid walking, and this dog, if she did get out, the dog is gonna go after a small child. And that's my biggest fear.
She's never.
And I'm sorry, I know this sounds cruel. I think the dog should be put down. The dog was vicious. There was no reason for this dog to go after me. None at all. And the gentleman that was holding her, which is sitting here, he couldn't even control her. I mean, she just pulled him right down. And as soon as I seen that, I just thought, oh my God, she's gonna get me. I really tried to put my hand down, but she was so quick. She grabbed the whole of my leg, tore it open, as you can see in the picture. And then the ambulance and that came, and it was like, I can't believe this. I did absolutely nothing. They deserve this, because they didn't have control of their dog.
Thank you.
But can I say something?
Thank you, Ms. Cook.
I have gone and I spoke with dog trainers, professionals. My veterinarian recommended them, and yes, she can be rehabilitated. It's my fault because I isolated her, because I've lost my husband, I lost my grandson. I don't want to lose my dog, and yes, every dog can be rehabilitated, and Alexandra Murphy is her vet, and she said she is willing to work with her. She met with her the other day. By the end of the visit, she had full control of Izzy.
So,
And I'm willing to do whatever I can to save my dog.
when was the last time that you registered your dog in the city?
She's registered here now. She was registered in a different town because I didn't live here. I just moved back here.
When did you move back?
What was it, July, June? I don't remember. It was just not too long
A
ago.
couple of months ago, we moved here from Westford.
Yeah, and the reason she bit the person before at Westford was he was an out-of-state guy. He was on our property, private property, with a gun out. They didn't tell that part. And she didn't attack him. She chased him and she grabbed him in the back of the leg.
Okay.
That was how come she bit him. He was on private property with a gun.
Do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah,
I just want to keep my dog. I will do, and we're gonna move back to Westford. I will do whatever I can, and I am so sorry.
That doesn't mean
I know it
the
doesn't.
trauma that I'm going, you don't understand.
I
The
do.
trauma that
I
I'm
was
going
when I was a
through.
child.
Hey, lady.
I was attacked by a
Ladies.
child.
You don't get it.
Izzy, you had some comment to make?
What's that?
That's a dog.
Sorry, Mr.
What? Mayville.
Nader.
I had the dog that day, and the reason why I didn't have control is I just got out of the hospital, and I had 5 stents put in me like 4 days before that, I didn't think she was that strong. I lost control when I tripped over my feet because I wasn't able to walk right away. And that's why she got away. I didn't let her go. I mean, I went down and tripped, and the thing came out of my hand. I thought she was chasing a skunk or a raccoon or another cat. I didn't know that person was up because I couldn't see because the house was right there. But, you know, we give people second chances all the time. We give murderers, rapists, okay, all kinds of criminals second chances. Okay, President's dog's got 3 people already. They didn't put that dog down, you know, and we're just asking. We do anything we can. We got trainers lined up. We got the vets working with her. Please do not destroy this dog because of one mistake. If you do anything, it's my fault. I let her go.
Nicole, you have something to add to this?
I was just going to mention that he did come in today with proof of vaccination for Izzy and the registered Izzy with the city.
When was Izzy
Was it
vaccinated?
dated?
August 10th,
Oh,
so just last week of this year.
did you get the dog vaccinated after she did?
Because we didn't, I got it done out of state, and I changed cars, I have moved, so it was at one of those clinics, and I think the paper was still in the other car, and so we didn't want to overlap it too long because it can actually make her sick or can kill her to over-vaccinate. So we wanted to make sure, but we knew she was vaccinated and she had an extra month on the vaccine. When it say it runs out like in August, they still have like a month, the vet told me.
How long does the vaccination last? Because 2018 is a lot of years.
They have 5-year ones. They do 5, 3, because my other little dog just got a 3-year one. So, and it wasn't 2018, and I told them that. It was just, I was out of state probably 2 years ago.
Council, have any other questions on this?
I have one. Where is the dog now?
She's at my house right now, and I have started putting a fence up. She never goes out front. Like I said, the vet called it, she was isolated, and it's my fault, so put me down. It's not her fault. She did nothing wrong because it was what I did to her. I didn't socialize her because I didn't want her to get hurt. She had gotten hit by a car already once, as when she was little. You know, it left her hip damaged. It's my own fault because I didn't do the right thing by socializing her, but she can be socialized. And the vet even guaranteed that she could do it.
Are there children in your neighborhood?
Yes, no, but my grandkids come up. I have grandkids. My grandkids are all over that dog.
Do you have any documentation from the vet that you said you spoke to that could guarantee that your dog could be rehabilitated?
Yeah, Alexandra Murphy.
Do you have documentation?
Oh, she
from
didn't,
the
she
vet?
just gave me her name. She didn't document it, but she gave me these names of who I've been in touch with, Fetch the Leash, Amanda Paquette.
Trainers.
You can't call them. You have to fill out an application online for, how do I say it, so that they can come, you know, they go and they talk consultations. So everyone that I've done, I did the Vermont dog, I think it's Vermont dog, they're supposed to be getting back to me. But yes, if you talk to my vet, Alexandra Murphy, she will tell you that she is willing to work with Izzy.
Essex Veterinary.
Yep, Essex Veterinary
They take
Clinic.
care of all our animals. We have 5 animals.
Where is Alexandra located?
She's out of the Essex Veterinary.
Essex Center?
Essex Center?
Essex
Yes.
Center Veterinary, yes, it's Essex Veterinary, but it's Essex Center is where they're located.
You understand our concern on this?
I do, I do, and that's why I'm saying, I will do whatever I can to save her. She doesn't deserve it, it's me. I did it to her. And that's what I just need you guys to understand, that I made her isolated. I make her me, and also, I need to just specify something. She's not a pit bull, because there is no such thing as a pit bull. She's an American Terrier. She's a boxer and a bulldog mix. That's what she is. So when she blurted out pit bull, I Googled it. There's no such thing as a pit bull. You can't even, so you know, she's a mixed breed. Her parents aren't even pit bulls. They're a mixed breed. And I think that that's what it all is because everybody thinks a pit bull, but it was my own doing. I did it to her. By isolating her. She used the people that come into my house. I just had a contractor put a door in. Just a couple weekends ago. He's in and out of my house, never even seen her. She didn't bother him.
Questions, anyone? You're not always said.
I didn't know this was part of the gig. I didn't read the fine print. I'm just struggling. I'm a dog lover. I love dogs. I love whatever breed of your dog. I love that breed. My struggle is that if you don't do your part,
I will do my
but
part.
I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't know you. The dog wasn't registered. The vaccination is a little iffy in my opinion. If anything were to happen more serious, and your wound was significant, like
Yeah, I apologize.
yeah, an apology is great, but my fear in this position is that if we say, well, let's roll the dice and gamble, and something happens, I will not be able to sleep at night.
We will do
Because-
anything it takes, both of us.
I will check in with you guys. I will get documentation from
I know, it's a tough one.
We've been in this situation before and it's backfired on us.
I understand that, but
So we've had a similar situation, not with biting an individual, but killing chickens, and we recanted on our decision, and it came back to, no pun intended, to bite us. That, there's kids in that neighborhood, I live in that neighborhood, I feel for Mrs. Cook.
I do too. I really do.
I mean, that is traumatizing. I personally cannot take another chance on that happening again. So for that reason, I would entertain a motion on this. Does anyone like to?
Is there any public comment?
What's that?
Is there any other public comment?
Question. Any other public comment? Anyone?
So
Anyone?
you're just gonna kill a dog because you bit one person, but,
No.
you know, we give
You're
you
looking for a
chances.
Listen,
If you're looking for a motion, I'll make a motion that in view of the flagrant attack on this woman and the horrible wound that was inflicted on her, I would move that the dog be taken into custody and euthanized.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second.
Can I put her down myself? I want it cremated. I do not want you guys to do that. I want to do it.
I looked at Ben or Chief on how that would be handled.
Let's deal with the motion, yeah. let's
Okay,
go.
good. So we have a motion and a second to have the dog euthanized.
I just don't understand that. You let murderers go, you give people chances, robbers, rapists, thieves.
We have no
You can't
control.
give a dog a chance.
We have no control over that.
Move the motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, everybody, for killing my dog.
Time frame.
She didn't bite my ass.
Dom, I guess I look to you. What's a reasonable time frame?
Unless there's objection from the council, I'd suggest that within 3 days, the council, the police department will confiscate it.
I'm not gonna let that happen. I will call
Hold
another
on,
time.
hold on.
You gotta,
Within 3 days, unless we're presented with a certificate from a veterinarian that the dog's been euthanized. So you've got 3 days to take care of it.
Thank you. She can kiss my ass.
Let's
Is
go.
there a way that I can actually get proof of that?
Yep.
That when the dog is put down?
Sure. Yeah.
You know, I feel horrible about this, but my biggest fear is that, and there are young kids that walk in that area. I mean, little kids with their parents. And I do feel bad. I grew up with dogs, all kinds of dogs. And that was horrifying.
I live near Miss Cook, and I know you are a dog lover. You have a dog.
Oh yeah, I got a little one.
I get it. So,
Tim, got a question for the chief. Now, she said that this guy trespassed on, had a gun. He had a right to shoot that dog.
let's
I'm
not,
in Westford, I don't know anything about that.
we're not gonna go down that road, all right?
Different here.
Dan, Chief, you have what you need?
What's that, sir?
You have what you need?
Yeah, as long as, I do, as far as this case, as long as she provides the certificate, if she doesn't, then we'll deal with that after.
Maybe.
Do you want Chief, to escort you to your car? They were a little fired up when they
I know,
left.
They're leaving, we can take care of that.
yeah, I'll wait until they leave, I'm up here.
Okay.
There were the second one and
Yeah, they're
I see them pulling.
Ms. Cook, if you want to come out here with us, we'll wait till they leave with you.
Okay.
Chief, thanks for your time tonight on all three counts. Appreciate it. Van, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Have a good evening.
Sorry about it.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6, which is conceptual approval of proposed upgrades to Houghton Park. We have Ms. Vians here tonight. Thank you for joining us, Kelly.
Yeah.
We'll try to tone it down a little bit.
It's all for talking about fun things, so.
All right, so Kelly is here to talk about upgrades to Houghton Park. We've had some preliminary drawings 2-3 months ago. I think we sent you back to have a discussion with the Parks Committee. My guess is you've had those discussions and you're here to report back on how those were, what those conversations were.
Yeah, so the Parks Committee has met several times to talk about Houghton. And we've talked with neighbors and we've talked with just individuals. People were interested just in general in the park. I think the thing that we found is that when we think about making improvements, we think of, big, like if it's going to be better, it's going to be bigger. And what we found is that the neighbors especially weren't really interested in things being bigger down there. The main reason is parking is an issue, and the way to, there's enough parking for park users and those that walk from their neighborhood to the park, but to create something that made that some kind of larger destination, they just weren't interested in creating that congestion. They like the park. They wish some things were better, and number one was the court replacement, taking out the 2 basketball courts and replacing those, as well as the 2 tennis courts, striping the tennis courts so that 4 pickleball courts could be played on the 2 tennis courts. Almost everyone we talked to was really interested in creating, having a sidewalk go right in the front on the west side of Houghton Park, and connecting that to a gravel court so that there was a walking path around the outside of the park. We walked it, and it's about 1/3 of a mile, and people like to gauge their walking, so they thought that would be a really nice addition. The other thing that we need there that is in terrible shape is the bathroom. There is one, and it gets regularly gets plugged and vandalized. What we'd like to do, there's 2 problems with the building. There's the bathroom, which is in really rough shape, and it's very old. I mean, it's been there forever. And that the building creates an L. And in the crux of the L, a lot of bad things happen. And they're out of sight. It's an easy place for negative things to occur. So our suggestion is to chop off that very old bathroom, to leave the rest of the building, leave where the garage door is, the storage that's there, leave Steelers all alone, leave their building alone, or their side of the building, the snack bar and their storage and their locker room, cut off where the bathroom is, and build a bathroom in that L, so the building becomes a square, and then make it a real commercial, recreational, outdoor kind of bathroom that's a lot harder to damage, and add 2 bathrooms. That would take care of that blind spot. It would add the bathrooms. In addition to the bathrooms, a drinking fountain, which is, we've gone round and round with that fountain down there, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't work with our water pressure. But they'd like one against the building, so we've got waters for dogs, waters for kids, waters for grown-ups, water for everybody. Adding a sink and a counter in the current storage area so that when we're working down there, we're not going into the bathroom hoping it's working to wash on a paintbrush or something. Playground, They love the playground down there for the most part. Nobody is using the exercise pieces of equipment down there except for kids, and they're not made for kids, and it's dangerous for kids to be on those pieces. So the thought is maybe take those out, maybe put them at Hardhack, put them on the hill. Parents can use them or not while they're watching their kids play soccer, and find a few new interesting pieces of playground features to install with the playground that we've got now. They would like shade either in more trees or some shade features, and there's some really cool shade features that match the playground that would give some shade, some benches. They'd like to be able to sit and watch their kids play. They'd like to just be able to sit in the park and enjoy it. A lot of people have mentioned boulders and rocks to climb on. We have 4 rocks in a pile at Hardhack, and there is never not a kid on them. It's like the best free toy we've ever had. So, and we have a whole bunch more. So maybe create a nice place where those rocks are. A bike rack, take out the backstops. There's 2 of them down there kind of awkwardly placed now because there's no field. Nobody plays baseball or softball there. Match the signage to that of the other parks in the city. Add more picnic tables and add garbage cans that can't blow over or get knocked over. And that's a problem every day. Our guy down there was picking up garbage that wasn't necessarily thrown someplace, it just ended up blowing over. There was some talk of creating like a locker type system on the side of the building to put some pickleball nets, because pickleball is everything right now. And we can take 1 tennis court and turn it into 2 pickleball courts with these little portable pop-up nets. Maybe we get a locker, put a code on it, and let the pickleball people set them up, take them down. Winter, we talked about an outdoor rink. In the last probably 5 years, we've tried occasionally, and we get 2 days out of it. We get 3 days out of it. You can't do it without refrigeration, I don't think. And then as more discussion was had, it was thought that maybe the place for that was at Hardhack, more than Houghton Park for a skating rink. But that was kind of at the end of the priorities. The parking is an issue, but nobody felt like they wanted to give up any of the park to increase parking, and I would 100% agree with that. Right now, I guess there's the parking, and I can't remember the building, but the parking on the other side of the vacant building, and that's accessible. It can be used, but it's not, it's not owned, I guess, by us, and it's not a forever thing. So nobody was in favor of increasing parking and taking away from the park. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
I'm surprised to see the teeter-totter.
It's old school.
That is old school, and it's not quite the teeter-totter you're remembering that somebody jumps off and launches you. Like, it's a more modern teeter-totter that is fun, but not,
But
you can't launch a kid.
Those are the best parts of the park.
Where you can bump somebody.
Yeah.
Are there not people that go down there every once in a while and use those backstops, Little League or anything like that, or?
Nobody officially does. Because there's no more field there.
Yeah.
And
Like wall ball for lacrosse.
yeah, it's just, it's kind of awkward. It's just, they're both there,
Okay.
but they don't.
All right, then let me throw this one at you. Isn't there a ditch between Lower Welton Street and what used to be the small field there?
Yes.
There's a ditch there, right?
Yeah.
And that ditch purpose is what, just to collect water?
That's out of my, that's out of my purview. I don't know.
So I'm just wondering if we put a
Culvert,
culvert
then
there.
it feeds Stevens Brook.
Yeah, if we put a culvert there and then filled over it, wouldn't that be some additional parking?
I don't know what the rules or
What do you think, Chip?
space required is.
We'd have to look into it. Because some of
That's
the,
our property, that's not state property, that's our property.
because of some of the funding that we received from Houghton Park from the feds over like the past few decades, there's an easement on the park held by the feds that it needs to always be used for recreational purposes.
Okay.
So we'd have to look at like, would they consider parking to support the park? And it would, you know, be okay, or, you know, we could look into it.
Because I think a lot of this stuff is gonna bring a lot of people.
Well, yeah, parking's already an issue.
Yeah, and
Steelers,
so
full swing.
whatever anyone could do to increase parking, to me, that is probably the best place to put parking. If we could put it and not take away anything from the field.
Or there's maybe if we could work something out with the old Elman
And
property.
just to clarify.
Across the street?
Across the brook, where
Yeah.
immigration was.
Yeah, yeah. But then you'd have to have, and there used to be when we were kids, Tim, wasn't there like a bridge?
There still
That
is.
was-
Yeah,
still
there was
is?
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steelers having.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, the ditch gets filled in, the parking is, let's
Not
say-
filled in, it's called, you
Or
put a
culvert,
culvert in there.
culvert,
And still get water out of there.
And you have diagonal
Diagonal
parking,
parking.
but it's off the current street and would be removed from that. It wouldn't extend out into the street at all.
No.
It would be all
Yeah.
totally on the grass.
Yeah.
property.
Which is where people park on the street when you go to football, or even on the grass.
Yeah, on the side there, half in the street and half on the side there.
Since we've had access to the INS parking lot,
It's been better.
and the Steelers put signs up, no parking.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Like-
eliminated that, but when it was there, it was a safety
Just
issue.
thought, I mean, that's another place for, maybe 10 cars, maybe?
Well, I think more than that.
Unless Jim Cameron is gonna do something with the courthouse and say 20 when it can only fit
Tell
four.
them.
but-
Wait till you see the site plan. Neither one of us is right.
They're gonna be the smallest parking spots I've ever seen. But anyway, I don't wanna change the subject.
I think
That's a
20 or
spot.
25.
That's a spot. That's
Easy to
a
say.
spot to increase parking if we were to do something with the,
And it wouldn't take away from the park.
no, I don't think it would.
So I think where Kelly and I was thinking from is when we passed the pool bond, we created some funds for Houghton Park improvements, about $500,000. And we need to sort of operationalize that plan.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't wanna spend a lot of time, I'm just throwing that out there.
And
Yeah.
parking, like, we can't ask for $500,000 for Houghton Park and then
Put parking.
put parking in.
So
So
that could be a project that we could budget for.
we could, yeah,
take care of.
exactly. I think we want to try to chip away. This
Yeah.
list is pretty clear with some priorities and some weighting. And a lot of it is deferred maintenance, on the courts and in that building. And making what's there work better before we build anything new.
And I think that was the overwhelming sentiment, take care of what we have, and like the toilet, it's gone, it's too far gone, replace the bathrooms.
Did it go well with staffing down there at Holt Park
It
this
did.
summer? And did the residents and the people in the neighborhood notice that
Yes.
difference?
Yes.
Great.
Yep, it really, it did, and, we handed out free lunches, and they actually did a lot of they did the court repairs. The guys that were working there, and they did, the weed whacking and the weeding and the permaculture, keep pulling that back and putting some more mulch in and stuff. So stuff that, it's hard to put at the top of a priority list when there's other stuff going on, but really important to the park, and they were able to do that.
Great.
Has Alderman Spooner had a chance to look at this yet?
We sat down with them,
Okay.
yeah.
I
A
noticed. it's
couple,
down
we've
for-
actually emailed
sorry.
quite a bit too, sorry.
I know you got it for a discussion and vote, but why do we need this? It's just a proposal and it's money designed for that.
So it's conceptual approval, right?
Yeah.
So, at this point, staff are saying, council, please affirm that we're on the right track, and then we'll work towards implementing this.
Yeah, we're not the experts, you folks, the ones that delve into it, and found out what everybody wanted, so
But you
So-
need a motion.
I don't think we do, do we?
I think he's just kind of saying he did it.
You don't need one, I just want it to be, be on record as making sure we're on the right
I
path.
think it looks great.
Couple of things. Racquetball has gone by the wayside.
It kind of has, it
Mr.
kind of
Hawkins
has.
was a huge racquetball player, I believe, in his day.
But I'm not playing pickleball.
I was gonna say, you must be in the pickleball group.
So that's gone by the wayside. Tennis appears like it's headed in that direction.
I think the people who play pickleball now think nobody plays tennis, and they don't understand why we don't just convert every tennis court we have to strictly pickleball. But they don't remember that they used to play tennis until they couldn't, and now they play pickleball. And so there are people who are still playing tennis.
Yeah.
But the glory about that, Tim, is they can be combined.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't, putting pickleball course there doesn't take away from being able to use it for tennis. You can, it's the same, it's a different set of lines, but tennis people know not to pay attention to those lines.
And they're different colors usually, and
Yeah.
it's,
So
it's pretty standard
It doesn't take anything
procedure
away
now,
from tennis,
yeah.
not at all. And it embellishes it, I think, so.
Eric?
Just a couple comments. I did read the item in the packet, and I wanted to just emphasize a couple things. Shade, summers are getting hotter. It's in there already, but when you're reviewing the final design, it's going to be really important. People who don't have air conditioning, or if the air conditioning fails and they need to go someplace to be cool, want to go to a park. And second point is, even a little bit of a water feature for kids to run around in on a really hot summer day would be lovely. And third thing is, I didn't read anything about Stevens Brook, and I have done zero research about what kinds of water flow or flooding issues we might experience that relate directly to Stevens Brook, but that's an area where we actually have an opportunity to do something. It's not somebody's backyard, it's the site of a park. So if there's something to be done, we ought to at least look at it.
Are you referring to flooding concerns?
Yes, yes.
So, and I'm not an expert on it, but we do have, as part of Stevens Brook, the city has implemented what's called a diversion canal. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That it directs, when the water levels get high coming down Stevens Brook, it does get diverted through the city to Rug Brook and heads down to Mill River.
About 500 yards before where Stevens crosses Lower Weldon, this diversion canal diverts overflow water to Rug Brook. So it's, unless that diversion canal failed, which could happen, it'd be very unlikely that Stevens Brook would flood along Houghton Park. It would probably be somewhere further down the line once it could be recharged with the rest of the watershed.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about flooding the park. I would worry about a missed opportunity to create something like you're talking about.
Well, we've been
Doing
doing the riparian buffer there with the USDA. They planted some shrubs on the city side. We haven't been able, there's not much we can do on the Albans side because they haven't allowed anything due to their past security concerns, but we've actually very intentionally been replacing that riparian buffer on the city side of the brook along Houghton Park.
Would there be a time that Stevens Brook would flood and Rug Brook would not be flooding? Or would they both flood from the same weather event?
Probably from the same weather event. What the diversion canal does is it actually gives Rug a little bit of Stevens watering. So that Stevens, even on July 11th, right after the storm, Stevens was just flowing and there's a point at which it doesn't rise anymore because all of that extra water goes to Rug Brook and the diversion canal instead, if it gets high enough.
Mary, points well taken, thank you.
And just, I haven't looked at climate, let's think about what the weather's gonna be like going forward, so that we take every chance to.
And let me just follow up on the tree discussion. So Kelly, there are 10 trees being planted. Can you give an estimate of how many have been planted on site along the brook?
Along the brook, I think there's like 70, or aren't there 70 or 80 little seedlings at Josh LaRoe, do you remember?
Yeah,
That's a
yes,
lot.
like 100 or more. And they just did more this spring.
Yeah,
Plus trees, bushes, trees, dogwoods.
But you do have trees within the park.
and trees
itself
within
where
the
the
playground
old,
were
common-
planted over the last 5-6 years. There have been trees.
Will you, in the plan, if you're gonna do a walking path, are there little like baggy, like poop things
Yes.
for the pets?
Oh, yes.
Hopefully people use
And
them.
dogs will be on leashes, we hope.
And once things are installed and final plans have been made and there's a path, that's when you go in with the trees. Once everything's laid out, then you figure out where can we put some trees that will augment the new things like a path that we've installed in the park.
And one thing I did skip over, because back before, when the pool was just being talked about, there was talk of, let's put a splash pad down there. And I was like, do not put a splash pad down here, but put something down here that squirts water. Whether it's a piece of granite in the ground that, just so a kid can play in it, have some fun, but that it is not something that is going to have a huge draw.
And you did the sprinkler this summer.
Yep. We do, I mean,
That's what we did.
we do that
That's what
every,
we're kids.
exactly. We do that everywhere where, when we've got a bunch of kids and they can't go to the pool, we put a sprinkler out.
What's the plan for the end of Hunt Street?
I think it has big, big rocks. You can't drive in there, right?
But you can access it by foot.
Yeah.
The fence isn't continuous, right?
No.
Correct. We move the blocks when we need to access the park really quickly. So it kind of is a good situation right now.
Does anyone else have any questions for Kelly? While we have you, can you give a 1-minute update on the pool?
It's awesome. The summer was great. The pool is full every day, no matter if it's raining and it feels a little chilly, which hasn't happened a whole lot this summer. It's packed with kids. We've had great attendance from, our residents, non-residents. People come from New York, they come from Richford, they come from Quebec. They've heard about, they see the pictures, they've seen the slide, and they come for the day, and it has been terrific. The staff has been amazing. We've hosted some pretty big events there, and one was the league meet. We had over 4,000 people there. It ran like clockwork. We had the pirate party, which is a little less intense, but very, very well attended. Everybody had a good time. It's been terrific. Lessons are going on. They've been going on all summer. They will, and our little swim team just won second place in Division I, which has never happened before, so that was pretty cool. And then we're closing September 5th to start disassembling everything off the pool, and then they'll come the week after, install the dome, and then we'll put it all back together. So we're closed about 7 or 10 days in September, and then 7 or 10 days in May when we open back up.
I had shared with Kelly this quickly. My kids were at the league swim meet. Day after I received an email from the mayor of Virginia, so I've yet to meet, but he was there and was very complimentary of staff, professionalism, the pool, the event, and he was very complimentary to the city of St. Albans for pulling off the event of that
Well,
size.
he also mentioned the cleanliness. And God knows, anyone who's worked for me knows my favorite smell is Clorox, so it's hard when it's that many people tearing through that place, but it was, they do a great job.
And I would add that the day was 60 degrees and rainy all day, or half a day, so.
Worst day of the summer.
Yeah.
What's the pool temp again?
82.
82.
82. Well, we turned it down that day because the coaches prefer colder water for their swimmers. But generally, it's 82.
Okay, any further questions for Kelly? Everyone's on the same page, everyone likes the direction it's headed,
Yes.
and we'll see a final version, is my guess, right?
You'll probably see projects come forward for implementation.
We have a timeline,
Budget season.
mud season.
Budget season.
Oh, but
The tennis, the courts, we have to get on, we'll be lucky to get on next year's construction schedule. It'll probably end of summer unless something changes drastically with them.
Cool. Thank you.
you could go.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 7, which is consider appointments to the Climate and Energy Committee. So, Tim, I, and Marie did interviews last week. And we'd like to present a slate of a slate of committee members. recommendation to the full board is to formulate a council of 5 individuals at this time with 1 alternate. And what I would entertain a motion to appoint Jim Stiles, Laura Isham, and Mary Hobbaum, Michael Zonders, and Zach Scheffler appointed to the full board, with Jim and Laura being 1-year terms, Mary and Michael being 2-year terms, and Zach Scheffler being a 3-year term, with Sue Knight being an alternate for the committee.
So moved.
Second?
So we have a motion and a second. Any comments, questions? Marie, anything to share on that?
Just, we had some good candidates, and I think they're all up for the charge, and I think that, you know, it's going to be a good committee. Well needed.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes as stated. We now have we need to consider a chairperson, a chairperson for the event, for the committee.
Motion to appoint Jim Stiles.
We have a motion to appoint Jim Stiles as the chair. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Marie. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, Jim is the chair for, keep in mind, this is a 1-year appointment. It's at that time that the committee will choose their own chair after this. So that's what the plan is at this stage.
I'm sorry, I think I heard correctly, but you said I'm appointed for 1 year, and then the committee
Exactly.
will, okay.
The committee takes it from there. Yep.
Thank you very much.
And you also said you have to buy us lunch every Saturday. Did you hear that part?
You betcha.
I think that Bree and Tim, we had some good conversations with all candidates. I would like to point out that we did get an email today that Laura is out of town for
Yeah.
7 weeks.
Yep.
So,
I'm sorry.
Laura Isham
Laura,
is out of town for a few weeks. Yeah. She's going to some training.
so Sue Knight would step in, assuming she's ready to do so. And will step into that alternate position, and she will be a voting member until Laura returns. So you should have enough for a quorum moving forward. So, going back to the interviews, I think the interviewees were excited about, or interviewers, I should say, were excited about what the opportunity for a number of things in the community. And we had a good discussion with the candidates, and I think it's going to prove to be a strong committee for the community, and we look forward to what those results will be.
And I would just simply like to invite any of you to weigh in with ideas, questions, issues. You know, we want to open it up, we want to engage everyone possible, and constructive solutions for, you know, the challenges that, well, some we face now, but a lot of this is trying to prepare for, you know, what may be coming our way, so.
And we are on a timeline for this next grant, right?
We're okay so far, right? We need to just keep moving along.
But you'll be in touch with Sarah moving forward.
Yep. And Mary is,
We hope to bring a preliminary proposal for your next meeting, so that you officially encourage us to continue working on the grant, so that it becomes everyone's on the same page that we want to pursue this in a certain way. And it is due October 31st. So between getting your official approval on September 11th and, I don't know, the 3rd week of October, something like that, we need to work with Marlena Valenta from the Regional Planning Commission. We can't do this without her. But we've been corresponding, and so I expect that between Sarah and Marlena and our own,
committee research that we should be good. Now, just to clarify, I'm sorry, tell me if I'm taking up too much time.
You're taking up too much time.
This grant is for a assessment, an energy assessment for up to 5 buildings. And free, absolutely free. And the idea is that that assessment then allows you to apply for future grants. You probably have a medium chance of getting the actual implementation grant for this particular program. But according to Marlena, having that assessment is critical for grants that are
Future grants.
that are coming. So that's just kind of overview.
And as we talked in the interviews, the key for us is to know what our responsibility is, whether it's a 20% match or an in-kind match or...
0 on this, for
Okay.
the assessments, 0. It's absolutely free. We just have to get the information to them.
So, Mayor, just in terms of general work processes, the city's pretty staff-driven, so
I'm sorry, is what you're doing?
staff staff-driven. You know, it's a full-time job for Chip and I, whereas everybody else is volunteers, right? So we don't need to come back to the council before we apply for that grant, so.
Well, you're perfectly happy to, you know.
So work,
We just want to be sure everybody's on the same page before we do a lot of work.
so work through the staff on that, and if
Okay.
we feel like, you know, we need to bring it back to the council, we will. But, you know, if it's fully in line with the mission and the charge of,
Right.
then we don't need to, you know, like, they didn't even want to approve the rec plan, right? So,
Well,
We
it's
trust
one
you.
of those things where we need to kind of feel our way.
Yeah,
I'd rather
yeah.
err on the side of asking
Yeah.
permission too much than too little.
err on the side of asking staff questions.
Okay,
The scarcest resource in the city is the city council's time,
okay,
so we're really protective of it.
okay.
And let us do the grinding in between, and we'll come back to these guys when we need their help and sign off.
Mary Lynn, we're going to overrule the city. You come down.
Thank you for
Well,
coming.
because this is the first project.
Yeah, no,
I just want to be sure that
We're fine.
everybody's okay with the way forward.
Yep. Thank you for coming in, we appreciate it. Thank you for initiating this. As we said, we think it'll prove to pay some good dividends moving forward.
Actually, no, if Phoebe is still
Oh, Steve.
here, this is
Phoebe.
Phoebe's initiation.
Yep,
She-
Phoebe as
she
well.
started-
Sorry, I
started
apologize
straight
about that.
Originally, so thank you, Phoebe.
Okay, thank you for coming in, folks. We'll move on to item number number 8. Consider approval of errors and omission for April 1 grant list. That would be Mr. Charles Ryder joining us.
Thank you. As my memo stipulates, this is a process that we often engage in to correct little technical errors in the grant list. Normally, they have to reflect things that existed as of April 1st of this year, but stuff we didn't catch or stuff we didn't find out about until people actually get sent tax bills, and that's when they really start interacting with us. So what errors and omissions does is it allows us to correct these situations, and it's retroactive to the grand list of April 1st of this year, and it's effective it'll become effective in the current tax bills that are out right now. The first change I want to discuss is actually the handwritten one at the bottom of the form. And this often happens, but in the personal property accounts, which are actually the business equipment accounts that we tax as what's called personal property, sometimes you won't hear from a business when we send out the notices in February and March. You'll hear from them when we send the tax bills out later this year, and this is one of those cases where the business says that they don't exist anymore. They didn't exist on April 1st, and thus they shouldn't be taxed. So that's Time Payment Corps. It's been verified by staff that they were actually inactive before April 1st, and thus they're record should be removed from the grant list. And then the other change concerns 5 properties that the city had purchased and owned as of April 1st, but staff, when originally processing that transfer, since it was city property, they just sort of automatically marked it as tax exempt, as most city-owned and utilized property is. However, these properties are all right now rented out to non-city entities, such as apartments or businesses. And under the typical rules of tax exemption, that means that they should be taxed. They're owned by the city, but they're not used for city purpose. So therefore, it's the same way we would treat a nonprofit. And that all was actually in effect as of April 1st. This error has just come to light and we're making a correction. So the properties at 12 Congress Street, 104 North Main Street, which is where the Weldon Theater is, 86 North Main, the Bellevue Building, 54 North Main, which is where Nourish is, and 56 to 58 North Main, which is where As the Crow Flies is. Those should all be taxable right now because they're being rented out for non-city purposes.
And the taxes will be, when you rent, your rent is, the taxes are figured into your rent.
Sometimes they are, yeah.
That would be good.
It's more like making sure we follow the principle. And that's not, this probably isn't always going to be the way it is for these properties, but it is the way that they were on April 1st of this year, so they should be taxable, not tax exempt.
Motion to approve errors and omissions for April 1.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve errors and omissions. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Chip.
Start signing here and it goes overflow. I'll cross it out and let the council member. Thank you.
That's all we have for you, Chip, tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move
Nice
on.
guy tonight.
Yeah.
We'll move on to item number 9, which is request to adjust parking fees and rates effective September 1, 2023.
So we adopted the general fund budget. We assumed a 10% increase in parking fees across the board. This spreadsheet and the accompanying memo proposes how to do that. So the revenue item goes up. On whole, we think estimated 10%, but there's some fine tuning based on the different categories that's outlined in the spreadsheet. There's 2 major cost drivers in that adjustment. The first is the inflationary environment. We haven't adjusted rates since 2015. And the other is just the need to add additional staffing and oversight of unstaffed but public facilities such as parking garages and parenthetically parks. So we've bent the curve significantly in the incidents in the parking garage by adding some part-time staffing in the evening. We've been funding that with ARPA dollars this year, but we're working on a proposal to expand those hours and include Congress and Maine as well, particularly as we head into the colder months where it can be used for more shelter, anticipating that response. That's just sort of a glimpse ahead tonight. We're just asking for council approval of the attached rate schedule for parking.
Do you have any questions for city manager?
What's the, what's the capacity in the garage? Is it well used? Are a lot of people using it? More visitors to St. Albans or businesses?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I alluded to in the memo that's part of this is right now we allow 2-hour free parking. In a subsequent meeting, we'll be discussing whether that continues to make sense. The garage is primarily oriented towards 3 categories of users. You've got the hotel, you've got the state office building, and then you've got your downtown day-long office workers, your professionals, people like the mayor who park there. Right? And that's really who it's built for. It's designed for your long-term parkers so that they don't park out in front of the stores. The garage, the strength of the garage is, it's a 350 space garage with over 100 spaces to go that aren't utilized. I'm not, it's hard to model the utilization of a parking garage until you actually build it, right? The hotel ended up using less than we thought. The state of Vermont ended up using a little bit less than we thought. The folks that were parking in the surface parking lot, when we built it, there's no parking there. And, you know, we couldn't have added those to $10 million worth buildings without building more parking. So it works. It would work even better if it was absolutely humming with people, right? So it's great to have 100 parking spaces when you walk into a development deal to know you got 100 spaces in your pocket. But the garage would function better if it was overflowing with people, with parkers. Then it wouldn't be an attractive nuisance to people seeking shelter. But, you know, last year the general fund had to subsidize the parking garage by 50 grand because of the activity that goes on. The biggest problem we have is broken gates. And, you know, in hindsight, we're gonna build we built a garage, we didn't staff it, it was surrounded by bars. And if you lose your ticket, you're supposed to call the police to get out. It shouldn't be a surprise that people prefer to break out instead of calling the cops.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Question for you. Do we have cameras up there shows who gets out?
we have tons of cameras, you know, the issue, and setting aside the issues with the court system that we talked about upstairs, you know, most, it's very difficult to get people prosecuted for damaging a parking gate. And so it's just it's a revenue and expense issue for us, and the North Star and the guideposts on this whole thing has been that the fees cover the cost of the garage. The TIF pays the debt, the fees pay the operations, and we need to get the fees in line, or decide that we want to pay for it out of the general fund, but that hasn't been what we've been.
Are there incentives for people, like if I own a business, is there an incentive for me to try to buy like parking passes for my employees? So like an introductory rate to get them used to parking in the garage,
Yeah.
and then, you know, like they get you hooked on like Comcast.
ATMs and stuff like that, yeah.
Just something I was thinking.
Our rates are so low,
Mhm.
I mean,
Even for a business.
we're still the cheapest structured parking in the state.
Okay.
And so, you know, if an employer came forward and said, I want to try to, you know, get my employees to park more in the garage, we'd love to have that conversation, we work with them. Right? You know, there aren't many part-time employees, there's some, but there aren't many part-time employees parking in the garage. It's mostly your folks who live downtown, work downtown. I mean, that's what I tend to hear in the garage every day. I don't know if you see it differently.
No, it's about, and right, the hotel guest, and then the people, state office building for sure, and then the surrounding housing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see many people parking and then going to Twigs to eat or going to Jeff Street. I don't see that. I don't know about nighttime stuff, but I think people tend to park in the open parking lots, people's parking lot, Kingman Street. You know, there is quite a bit of, you know, the Central Vermont or Genesee, Wyoming parking lot. I mean, there's a lot of vacant parking lots.
Parking all over the place, yeah.
One thing Dom and I did talk about is when we do have the large events, the tractor parade, the
Maple Fest.
you know, festival trees running on the bells, whatever the case is, you know, do some directive, direct people there, just collect $5 at the gate. And instead of having them go take a ticket, but if we had a man, you pay $5, you go in, keep that person there until they empty out or whatever the case is, we'll figure out the logistics of it. But I think if we made it easy on those big nights, it would be,
It's a good idea.
we'd be able to generate some more income off it.
And Messenger Street will thank you.
Yeah, that's for sure. So,
Motion to approve requests to adjust parking fees and rates effective September 1.
we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob, any other questions on this? Hearing none, all those in favor of the parking fee adjustments, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. We will now move on to authorization of 3 debt-related items.
I'm channeling Sarah Macy tonight. I won't be nearly as charming, but I hope you'll stay with me. There's 3 items, and we'll take them one by one. The first is the renewal of the Fonda solo loan for a year. The P&S for one of the housing lots at Fonda will cover the remaining loan balance. So we've been renewing this year after year for 15 years now. The end is in sight.
So this was the initial loan that was taken out to buy Fonda for $250,000, is that
It's
correct?
about the balance. It was 3-ish,
We bought it for 3.
3 something, yeah. Not on my watch.
So you can't take responsibility for
For the
the
cleanup.
dispatch.
Yeah. Now that we have it,
So that's 1.
I think let's do motions as we go if we can. That's the way it's warned.
What's that?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second on the motion to approve the annual payment on the Fonda site?
Second.
Second by Trudy. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Moving on to authorization number 2.
This is a lease purchase agreement with Republic First National for the purchase of 2 police cruisers. This was, the lease financing plan was embedded within the budget, and the lessor requires additional council authorization.
So moved.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on this? My only question was, so this is the recommended lease company based on where the cruisers are being purchased from?
Correct.
Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Third item is a line of credit with People's Trust as a revenue anticipation note for the year.
This is standard request from each year, when
Yes.
expenses come in.
It's $1 million, and we typically open one up about this time of year, at the beginning of the year, to deal with cash flow throughout the year.
Entertain a motion to approve the line of credit.
I'll make a motion to approve the line of credit with People's Trust.
Motion from Marie, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Tim. Any questions from city manager? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Anything else on any of that, Don? We're good?
No, but I got 11 too. I don't believe that the resolution is, it's not in my packet, is it in your packet?
I have it on.
You got it? Okay, perfect. Sounds good. So Nicole will present this as well. I just texted Sarah and she said it's swapping out Sarah for Tom, adding Jill as assistant treasurer and Chip assuming the role of third signer.
Yes. That's exactly what I was gonna say. We were just adding Jill as a check signer, so if I'm not here, she can take my place, and if both of us are not here, our fabulous Chip will take over.
Chip's not here.
and you guys have to wait until the three of us are back in the building or in the state wherever.
That
we
will
may be.
never, ever happen.
Yes, we'll never all be on at the same time.
Never say never.
That's right. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the banking resolution by Tim, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bob. Any questions for Nicole? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I'll sign
Resolution
off,
approved.
please. Thank you.
Moving on with item number 12, mayor's report. A couple quick things. Did others get information regarding senior center?
No,
I got that as well.
I got the flag.
So this is a discussion that we probably should have in the next meeting or beforehand. But in a nutshell, senior center didn't get funding from FY '23 budget. No, they did get 23, they're not in 24, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure that letter, the bottom line is the senior center can't afford to be removed from the budget and he has to put it back in.
And I'm meeting with Brian Delorier later this week and making sure that the town's on board with that as well. I think there was transition in senior center management, which they did not make the proper request to city and town relative to making a request for a contribution.
Does the senior center need our contribution?
I believe they
Aren't they selling it?
The analysis we made is that they were selling the building, so we didn't need to fund it.
Yeah, that's exactly what we made.
They said, no, we're selling the building because we don't have any money and we're gonna move elsewhere.
Okay? So the effect of a senior center doesn't have anything into that building financially. So whatever they sell it for, they're gonna get money. Will they still need our budget? That's my question, and that was our analysis at the finance committee.
Yeah, I mean, we can, why don't we figure out where the town's at and we can,
And is it just city and town residents that use the senior center, or is it other towns around?
You have others.
you have others, but it's heavier in the city than, I mean, we're not talking, it's, you know.
It wasn't a lot of money, it wasn't, yeah, it wasn't a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's why for $2,500 again, do they think they're, I mean, they're gonna make good money selling that place. I mean,
They've got new management, new leadership. They just did, I saw some, I don't know if it was a silent auction or something. I think they're working hard to make ends meet. I don't think they've had any takers on the building as it sits. My personal is, for me, that's one of the groups we want to support, right? Seniors who've been here all their lives for the most part, that paid their.
But if they sell that building and then move to Swanton, or that would be,
I'm not sure what the,
You succeeded.
I don't know if they've taken it down that far as to where they would end up.
yeah.
They're not gonna, you know. They might move to the outskirts of the city and the town,
That's why I don't
you
know what
know.
you're doing, so I can't.
They need to be in the city for all the reasons we're discussing all night, you know.
Yeah.
well, logistically, they were not in the budget, so it would take more than just us to put them in the budget. Because the taxpayers are the ones that actually vote on the budget. So do we have funds in the budget that we could appropriate to them? Other than saying we're gonna put it back in the budget again?
Yeah, possibly.
How much are they looking for?
$2,500. And that's what it was last year, right?
I think one of the questions here is there surplus from the FY '23 budget?
They were looking, they want to claw back from 23 and the 24. I'm not convinced we didn't give them something for 23.
Sounds like we're gonna do some homework, but we
Yeah. Check with the town.
can follow. I'm just pointing that out.
Finance director is out of town on vacation. We shouldn't make a spontaneous appropriation.
Yeah. Double check.
Good.
The other thing I had was, I was approached over the weekend regarding our appetite for putting a sidewalk from Nason Street to Lower Weldon along Drive. I think it's a good idea, but as Don pointed out, that's all part of the Federal Street bypass, and it's tough to put in a sidewalk and then tear it out when that improvement comes along in 3 years.
Well, they can get up Weldon to either east or west of Main, and then, I mean, and get to Stebbins Street, that same avenue. Why, what is the,
I think you have a lot of people coming down Nason,
coming down Nason,
and you can.
to do what? To go,
To get to CDOEO.
Oh, okay, I see.
So you have a lot of people
I see,
walking,
yeah.
walking on Lebanon to access
Okay,
CDOEO.
I got you.
So
I was thinking of residents, I wasn't thinking of business, yeah.
CDOEO. So we'll continue to follow that with Chip and Don and see what the timeline is and where that goes. There's a partial sidewalk that goes by Robbie Martell's and then stops.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good idea to connect Lowell and to get to CDOEO, but.
Chip, how long do you think for us to go back through NEPA with everything we know now? 3 years for design and permitting?
Yeah, 3 years for design and permitting.
That's what I think too.
Maybe construction in the third year. If we go full board, pay the local match. The issues that we've promised the big grant we got, that we would use their money to build that sidewalk. If we do it by using other money outside the project, then we run into.
Doesn't count as our
Yeah, the
match.
feds don't like, the feds actually say, you don't need our money anymore, because now you're doing the project on your own.
So I'll convey that to the individual that spoke to me. The other one I had was, an individual approached me about, he wanted to pitch to the city about putting designing a flag for the city of St. Albans. Nothing, basically it's St.
You got it in our
Albans.
package?
Yes, in fact.
We all know.
So, no decision needs to be made on it, but take a look at it, it'll be a discussion for the next meeting. I talked to Don briefly, I don't think there's anything of major concern. I actually like what was proposed. I think it'd be good for parades and here and other things, so we'll further that discussion as well. So, that's about all I have for now. I did talk to Dom, and I'm going to be working with Tristan to do some council thank yous for a number of different events, car show, Church Street event, farmer's market. I mean, a lot of volunteer work goes into those, and I think it's important for us as the council to recognize those hours that they put in and continue to do that as we move forward. So let's start with council reports. Noel, we'll start with you.
Oh, that's nice of you. One person, Diane Barabee, wanted to know how come on our tax bill that it's like it used to be the end of the month when you tax them, and now it's August 17th.
There's a holiday in there somewhere, that's what we ran into, I thought.
Well, the day after that is a holiday for me, change age.
So what is the concern?
She always thought it was on the end of the month that
And
when your
something
tax
here
comes
that
out.
Sarah would be the person
Yeah.
for this. They moved it up a little bit because of the revenue. I don't know exact details. I know I heard quite a bit about it today from people coming in to pay their taxes. A lot of people who are on Social Security are concerned that they're gonna end up with late fees because we moved it up. Because they don't get their Social Security till the end of the month or first of the month.
Where was that decision?
All of our bills are due the 17th of the quarter, except for February, which would be the 16th.
Is that
I don't
a
know.
finance decision?
I wasn't part of the conversation. It's pretty hard to unwind at this point. Why don't we deal with it if we get delinquencies that emerge?
Are we gonna move it back to the end of the month?
Let me connect with Sarah and see where she's at.
Okay.
I would just follow up on that. Noel, I did get a complaint from a constituent about the increase in taxes. And what I told him was go back and look at your tax bill from last year. Compare the city portion with the city portion, see what that went up. He came back to me and said the city portion went up 4% compared to last year. The education tax went up 16% compared to last year. So, once again, we take the brunt. I'm guessing you, Nicole, have taken the brunt
I
of
have a
it.
sheet that I give to people, so I don't have to say it 10 times,
Yes.
20 times a day.
The hard thing
But most
about
of them are pretty understanding once they know it's a statewide education tax.
the hard thing about the way we pass a school budget is that even we merge our votes, right, as a district.
Right.
And we took a really hard hit in the city with that school budget, and other communities didn't get hit as hard, so maybe, but we're just along for the ride, even if we thought it was too much for people to handle. Because our taxes went up more than other
Right.
communities in the city, but we're all voting as one.
That goes to the common level of appraisal, right?
Yeah,
So
And that was
and that's in
that was
progress.
gonna be my question, where do we stand on that?
in September, we are gonna present you with a plan to launch the reappraisal immediately.
When we have, with a qualified reappraiser on hand?
That's the idea.
Yeah, we've just,
You're gonna do it?
we've gone through a competitive RFP process.
We have.
We just interviewed 3 firms. We finished the last one this morning. We have a tentative selection, well qualified, well credentialed, and part of the decision-making process was the timeliness of their ability to get started. So,
Which I think was part of the decision back in March, right, that we didn't think there was.
yeah, last time we went out and we got, I don't want to go too far into this because we've got people's business interests, but we didn't get nearly as robust a response last time as we did this time. I think because of the uncertainty about what the legislature was going to do. So now that that is settled, we're really pleased with the response. We're really pleased with our tentative selection, and we're excited to brief you on it in September.
And not to go down that road too far, but what would be a timeline on that, from beginning to end?
Yeah, I need a month.
2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
2 to 3 years.
Yeah, they're normally a 2 to 3 year project, and we're gonna
But,
do it as fast as we can.
we were looking at, looking at the same 2 to 3 year process, but,
3 years out.
yeah. So,
So that will level things out a little bit. It should. The
Okay.
cost for
Right.
reappraisal.
well, that'll reduce the CLA. But the CLA is kind of a mini appraisal, right? And the great news is St. Albans is a much more desirable place to buy a house. The downside is that it raises our property values, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Noel, do you have anything else?
Oh, question for you. We were talking about the dog situation. I remember being with the one we had, the pit bull knocked off the chickens. And what happened there? We got backfired on that, did we?
We reconvened, we entertained a proposal for it to be
rehomed,
rehomed in Highgate.
yeah.
The dog managed to find some more chickens in Highgate, and they shipped them to the southern part of the state.
Oh, okay.
So it's out of the region, but we pass the problem on to someone else.
Some of the ranch chickens in the southern part.
No, that go around.
I think no chickens down south, so
Yeah, there are no chickens south of Route 4.
Oh, man.
I kind of felt sorry for her. Well, it's a hard thing to get into with Boldwood, but when she mentioned about a guy being trespassing, that dog bit him, he had a right to shoot that dog. I shouldn't say that, but it could happen.
only in Westford though.
Yeah,
Okay, anything else?
that's it.
Marie?
Yeah, I got a few things. I was approached by a neighbor who had mentioned this to me some time ago, but it was in the winter, so I can understand why nothing's been done. But at 16 North Elm, there's like a sinkhole in the green belt, right in line with the telephone pole between the pole and the main sidewalk. So he'd like that filled in and reseeded. if we could. He brought it up again last week, so just kind of refresh memories, I guess.
Will you take it upon yourself to give Marty a call?
Yeah, I will.
Marie, I got it. I got it, keep going.
Oh, okay.
I'll connect with Marie.
Also, at the intersection of Congress and Smith Street, there's a manhole there that seems lower than what it should be. Have you,
I haven't noticed it.
have you
I will
have
look.
you misaligned your car yet?
No. No, I mean.
I actually can speak
Chip,
to that.
yeah, Chip can speak to it.
Yeah.
Whenever someone with an unladen trailer goes over that thing, it sounds like their trailer's about to, come off the car. So,
Yeah, yeah.
Actually,
Also,
Yeah.
that's
is a
more, I
problem.
don't hear that, but
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
It's going straight up Congress. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we repave the street, I was just gonna suggest that we raise that manhole up a little
Yeah,
bit.
if we could.
Yeah, I think, let's see if we can solve that. Let's see if we get the funds to pave the street next year. And
Okay.
maybe we can raise the rim and
Yeah.
level it out.
That-
You actually have to swerve around it,
See
not
how
no
we
one's.
can
Yeah.
the street page?
Yeah.
Well, I know.
Maybe there'll be some funds left over for the first block of Brainerd Street. too.
Oh, I thought Ward 1 was not part of Swan.
Exactly.
Not this time.
And also, I had messaged Marty, because someone brought to my attention that we had passed an ordinance about a compact car parking only on the corner of Hoyt and Main. And so he researched it, and he said, yes, we did pass that ordinance. So he said, we'll get a sign up, but I just noticed it's not up yet, so if we could maybe do that sometime soon.
Don, you got that?
Yeah.
And that is all I have.
Any riot in your area?
Any what?
Any riot last time you came?
No, it's been okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking.
A lot of speeding, but
Thank you, Marie.
you're
Hoyt
welcome.
and Main,
I think if everything's all quiet and
Main
warm, so
side?
I don't have anything.
I didn't catch it.
Main,
Despite
Hoyt
that,
and Main?
Huh?
For the-
Yeah,
the
Main and
warrant.
Hoyt.
It's like-
Yeah.
Despite the what?
The warrant issue. When was that?
Well, that was about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just looked out the front door and there was 5 patrol cars. And they had gone cross lots on the street. Very well behaved. I didn't even know they were there until I looked out the front door. But, I think that Rugg Street is sometimes a trouble spot. So it's not the first time I think that they've had to go there.
Trudy? Yeah, is that it, Bob? Sorry.
That's it.
The stone wall was finally fixed that we hit with our sidewalk plows. Gentleman came and put it back together, and it looks nice. This afternoon, I know I shared with you guys earlier, but I think it's nice to share with everyone that I saw Officer Weatherby driving by a little lemonade stand. Little girls were selling lemonade on Smith Street to raise money for the Hard Act Playground, so that was very sweet. And other than like some nice significant renovations being done to a couple houses in my ward, one right next to me, which is great, things have been quiet. So it's nice to see some improvements
Can
around.
I ask you, you had made a comment that the dumpster was on your property. But I looked at, it wasn't anymore, it was on the other side of the
But
tree line.
I mean, it was barely, they just don't know. That's all right, as long as they're cleaning up that house.
But is the tree line the property line?
Right up to their driveway, all the way down, yeah. And once, yeah, it's not a big deal.
No, I was just.
John just can't mow, he likes to mow his lawn.
I just was curious what,
Yeah, that's where the property line is.
it will be nice when that's done.
It will be, yeah, and I haven't seen any more.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yeah, I got a couple. Weldon on the north side got hit bad, graffiti. Going down Hudson Street, if you look at the Weldon and stuff, and some very, very bad comments on it. The other thing was, the 2 stores on Lower Lake Street, the 2 former stores, one Miners Market, and the other, I believe,
Black Creek.
Black Creek. Those have got to be a couple of the ugliest buildings on that part of the street. I wish something could get done. I really get disappointed when I go by there and see that. And there are some people trying to fix their houses up, and these folks who own them That miners, I mean,
It's all boarded up.
no, that's Black Creek.
Yeah.
That's Black Creek. Miners has got so much dirt, road dirt on it, it looks almost like you could go and take a scrape, I'm sure you could go take a scraper and scrape that off. It received to be pressure washed.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure a pressure washer. would
Yeah, I
do
don't know,
it.
I think it's probably too late.
Yeah.
But they really are ugly, ugly,
Which
ugly.
side of Lake Street?
The north side.
North side both.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they really are ugly, ugly looking places.
You
So-
mentioned graffiti. Can I just Hardak, the brick wall, when you walk in off of Congress Street, that brick wall keeps getting tagged with graffiti too. I don't know if there's a way to put like cameras in places that people are
I believe cameras
vandalizing.
have been put in place since the last time.
Because they cleaned it and then they put it right back.
Right, so it's been cleaned. City staff
Mhm.
clean it on their own time,
So,
being paid for by the Aldous Hill Trust Fund. So we recruit them, I say we because I'm on the Aldous Hill Trust.
mhm.
We recruit them, they clean it, and it was done, it was graffitied within 7 days, probably 10 days.
Mhm.
Game cameras have been put up in hopes
Mhm.
of catching someone. The question, it's tough because you want that historic look of the brick wall
Mhm.
without painting it. Painting over it's easiest, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of work to get a pressure washer in there and clean it like they have.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of at a loss at the next steps on what we do there.
And as well, then, is that something that place that's usually hit also?
Well, the theater is, yeah, it is, but this has got some, it's got the N word on it for one, and then we need to get rid of it. The only other thing I had was, on our decision that we made earlier regarding the dog, my wife and I walked a lot last year, not as much this year because she's hurt her ankle, but, on that part of Farrar Street. And when I saw that, I just thought of her, something happened to her like that. And so I have no regrets in our decision. So if anyone's contemplating doing something else, don't bother calling me. I'm sticking with my.
That wound was gruesome, that was it.
And, yeah, never mind. I'm
So-
good with my decision,
Okay.
especially like that.
All right, so we'll move on to approve of minute meetings. 7/10/23.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve minutes.
Oh, you got a change.
I don't,
We
good
have
with
a-
what it says.
We have a second, is there a second? Second by Marie, any changes or amendments?
Yes, on item number 8, third bullet, the date for the grant due date should be October 31st and not July 31st. Just if we could change the date on that.
Benji, Trudy, anything else? Anyone? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, minutes approved.
Motion to approve warrant 7/31/23.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve warrants from 7/31. All those, any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, all, hearing no opposition, the motion passes. And then we have the need to go into executive session number 2.
Motion to move into executive session to, for finding out premature disclosure of matters related to appointed or public officers, contract negotiations, public safety, and or real estate purchase options would compromise the city or person involved.
We have a motion, is there a second, go into executive session?
I'll second.
Second by Marie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Where would you like to?